Daska, what are you doing? Yes, correct, I'm not, because today we're going to be doing a double film review. Let's do this, shall we? Boom. Right, what are we looking at today? Now, I could have sat there and thought, why don't I just do a single review, like, just do one review for one film and then another one for the next one. So I thought, no, I'm going to do a double review, and what I'm doing today, what I'm discussing, is the movie Respect, as you can see on the screen there. Let me just get that up, one sec, hang on, there we go. And so, first film I'm going to be looking at is Respect, and the other one is called The Paper Tigers. So I just thought it'd be interesting to do that, to just do a double review. So let's start it off with looking at Respect, which is a biopic about Aretha Franklin's life, the soul singer from the United States, which I'm a bit of a fan. Not too many of her hits, but we'll get into that. I'm a big fan of the Blues Brothers, and her scene in the Blues Brothers, actual Aretha Franklin in that cafe, the Think song, love that song, and love that whole scene in general. So I was actually quite interested in watching this. Now, looking at the runtime, 2 hours, 25 minutes, when I initially saw that, when I first started watching, I'm like, wow, this is going to be pretty long. But you'd be surprised, it actually does go pretty quick. But the synopsis, as you can see here, following the rise of Aretha Franklin's career from a child... Wait, before I get into that. So we're looking at Respect, and then once I give you my review and rating for Respect, I will be looking at another film called The Paper Tigers, which is a completely different genre, completely different film, but I'm looking forward to both of these. So, back to Respect. Aretha Franklin's career from a child singing in her father's church choir to international superstardom. Respect is a remarkable true story of the music icon's journey to find her voice. Now, I really didn't know too much about Aretha Franklin, apart from the fact that I know a few of her songs, Respect being one, Think, Say a Little Prayer was another one. But let me just say that Jennifer Hudson playing the key role there as Aretha Franklin does do a really, really good job. She knocks it out of the park with this one. I was very impressed. Now, the first part of the film, obviously, you see Aretha Franklin as a young child and how much of a good singer she is, singing at her dad's parties, all that kind of stuff, which is amazing. Like, if this is based on her life story, and apparently the word is that the real Aretha Franklin actually chose Jennifer Hudson to play her role. She said, "You're the one that's going to play it." So there you go. So that whole part when she's younger at home singing and real talented is amazing. However, things turn quite dark pretty quick, and not giving anything away, but I had no idea about Aretha Franklin's life, but dark as in quite shocking, sad, and I was like, that is really tragic about what happened. So I'm not going to get into that, but it just kind of like the first opening act of the film, it just kind of hits you like a ton of bricks, where it's like really good kind of opening, and then you're hit with this information that I didn't know about Aretha Franklin, and then I'm just like, wow, it's quite shocking and disturbing as well about what happened to her. So obviously, as that keeps going, the film progresses and shows how Aretha Franklin became who she was. Now, not talking about her fame to start off with, but singing in the church choir, getting various record labels, and then you've got the whole thing about her falling in love with different men. Well, first of all, you get her first husband here, we've got Forrest Whitaker playing her father, who plays a really good role, actually. There's a lot of character development in this. Marlon Wayans plays her first husband. Now, there's other guys here that Titus Burgess and Mark Maron, they play producers and people of the music labels and stuff like that. Kimberly Scott, Mama Franklin, I thought I recognized her in the middle of the movie. I'm like, I've seen her face before, and she's actually in the movie The Abyss by James Cameron. So I found that really interesting that she was in that. But as the movie goes on, look, 2 hours, 25 minutes, a good chunk of it is seeing Aretha Franklin, become famous and become who she was. through various record labels and the relationships that she had, and singing in the church choir and then like becoming famous, etc. There's a really key scene here. She's a real independent woman and has her own kind of opinions about things. Now, remember that this is based back in the 60s and 70s. What I've also found very interesting was the fact that I had no idea about this, that she had links to the civil rights movement and with Martin Luther King, which I had no idea about. So when you're in the film, and it's no spoiler, but when you see the actual character of Martin Luther King come up, you're like, wow, okay. So she was part of that progression with American civil rights, which was really interesting. I found all that really interesting. I found her mum is there as well. So the movie starts off like that, showing her younger side and what happened to her, but multiple tragic things happen in her life, which led her into, different paths. And then the thing is about it is that, like, her relationship with her husband, again, that's a real quite confronting kind of scenes in some of them. And look, I mean, how do you put this? I do think that with biopics, you have to be really careful. Now, I know everyone loved Bohemian Rhapsody, right? I thought it was okay. Rami Malek did a great job, right? I thought Rocket Man was the superior film. Joel Edgerton, playing Elton John and singing was an amazing feat. He didn't even win an Oscar or get nominated at all. He won a Golden Globe for Best Comedy Musical, which was ridiculous. I think Rocket Man is more superior to Bohemian Rhapsody. Respect, you've got Jennifer Hudson, who's an actual singer, singing the actual songs, which is amazing as well. And, Aretha Franklin songs aren't easy to sing. However, where this does kind of, not that it fails, but 2 hours, 25 minutes, there's a good chunk of the middle of the film where we've got her with her record labels and getting better and better, but then her husband holding it back, and then she split, things happen with him, and it kind of leads into this kind of, I'm not going to say cliche, but if you've seen the movie The Doors, Rocket Man, all these biopics, I know it happened in real life. I know these singers had this kind of struggle that happened, but it just kind of enters into this cliche kind of rock star burning out, and then the rise. Now you're probably going to disagree out there and think, yeah, but that's actually what happened. I understand that, but from a filming sense, I'm just like watching it thinking, okay, I understand this happened, but it's just I've seen it so many times in other biopic films. But that is my only gripe with it. Ray was another one as well with Jamie Foxx was amazing. So maybe one day I'll do a biopic, top 10. But does this hold up? I think it definitely does, and I think Jennifer Hudson should get nominated for Best Actress in this, 100%. I don't know about him, Marlon Wayans for Supporting Actor, or Forrest Whitaker, possibly. Mama Franklin, Kimberly Scott plays a really good role. It's difficult, but I mean, you look at some of these reviews, I'm not even going to bother, but everyone's sitting there trying to compare it to other films done before and better. I'm like, all right, well, whatever. Like, other people have got different opinions. That's the whole point why we're discussing things, guys. So, in terms of respect, should you go watch it? Well, should you watch it? We'll put it this way. If you're a fan of biopics and if you enjoy this type of music, soul, gospel music, but you also want to see a good film that's going to give you some insight into Aretha Franklin and her life, then by all means, go for it. I watched it because I was a fan of Aretha Franklin from the Blues Brothers, but I didn't really know much about her apart from that and a couple of other songs that, are in the playlist of like 60s that I've got on Spotify. But another big thing I found with this film is that you will literally be sitting there listening to some of these songs that she's singing in her early days and later on, and I'm like, oh wow, she actually sang that. One of them was Nature Boy, the one that's in Moulin Rouge and David Bowie did a cover of. I was like, did she actually sing this verse? I Say a Little Prayer is another one. I had no idea. Correct me if I'm wrong, if it wasn't her who actually originally wrote it. But let me just say, there are some really big hits that I was surprised weren't hits in the film. It makes you think that she hasn't received like a big hit as yet until she writes Respect. Now, a lot of the songs that she does write are all about her relationships as well, which I find that very interesting too. So, that's my final thing, guys. If you are into biopics, you want to know more about Aretha Franklin, go for it. If you just want something that's to get a little slice of history about a certain singer, then by all means also watch it. But my rating out of 10 for Respect, I'm going to definitely say a 7.5 for that. So 75 out of 100 or 7.5. Mainly because I think there's just a bit of a chunk of the second half of the film, like the middle part of the film, which just kind of like, I think the film could have been about 20 minutes shorter, but anyway, that's me. Looking at the rating of IMDb, 5,000 people and a 6.6 average. I reckon it deserves a 7.5 or 7.6. In Rotten Tomatoes, what do we got? 67% by the reviewers and 95% audience score. Wow, that is a big jump. So, look, I'm going to agree with the audience here because the reviewers, 165 reviews, got up to 67%. Audience score, 95%. I gave it a 75. This is a 95. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Definitely deserves more than 67. This is going to get nominated for Best Picture, Best Actress. Don't know about directing. Maybe sound mixing, sound editing, something like that. Cinematography was good. Some good shots, good use of the camera, good sets. Production design, maybe not. Don't know about directing though, because of that lull in the middle of the film. So, for me, it's a 7.5 for Respect. Thank you for that. Now, for the next film. You've been waiting for this. A few people have been waiting for this one. I'm going to be talking about The Paper Tigers. Now, it says 2020. I should get that right. I thought it was 2021. Well, there you go. I'm actually wrong, so I better fix that later. But anyway, The Paper Tigers. Now, this one was on my list for a good couple of months. I had a friend who is into martial arts. You know who you are. And got me onto this and said, you have to watch Paper Tigers, right? Now, what's it about? 3 kung fu prodigies have grown into washed-up middle-aged men. Now, one kick away from pulling their hamstrings. But when their master is murdered, they must juggle their dead-end jobs, dad duties, and old grudges to avenge his death. Now, may sound like something cliche out of the 80s or the 90s, you know, for a martial arts film. But trust me, yes, it does sound like that. But let me put it to you this. This was really entertaining. And how so? Just when you think that this is going to be some sort of cheesy, you know, avenge my sensei kind of film, which is what the synopsis kind of says, it's a bit more than that. So these 3 characters, our 3 protagonists, we've got Andy Lee, Ron Wan, and Matthew Page. Hang on. No. Andy Lee, Ron Wan, and Michael Shannon Jenkins as Jim. These 3 guys, 3 mates, grow up. They've got a sensei, he gets murdered. They find out and they want to know what happened. Now, there is that whole thing about how their sensei had one person that he had like one student, or he had 3 students, but then he had one that he passed on more information to, right? And then there's a rumor going around that no, actually after, you know, you left the dojo, he actually trained someone else. So they're trying to work out who was actually the person who murdered their sensei. Apart from that whole concept there, that storyline, the rest of it, the characters are really they're actually pretty funny. It's actually more of a, I don't know if it's a comedy, guys, but it's actually there's some really funny scenes, especially between our 3 main characters. This guy here is actually pretty funny as well. So you got the guy, like, these guys are all middle-aged. They know all their martial arts, their kung fu, as they say. But when they go to, like, actually perform it, you've got, you know, pulling hamstrings, doing injuries. I thought the fight scenes were really well choreographed. And it did remind me a lot of like older 80s, 90s martial arts films. There is an epic scene at the end, which I'm not going to spoil as well. But put it this way, without giving anything away, action comedy, 100%, right? Now imagine this. Imagine you took something like the Karate Kid, right? Now you've got something like Cobra Kai. Now what's interesting about it is one of the old actors from Karate Kid 2, what's his name? The bad guy in Karate Kid 2, Chozen, however you say it. He's actually got a cameo in this, and he was one of the producers of this film, which was pretty cool. It's like you've taken a mixture of Cobra Kai, a bit of blood sport, not in terms of tournaments, but in terms of like that whole training thing with your sensei, bit of Karate Kid, bit of kickboxer, a whole bunch of different things, right? Now, what's interesting about it is it does develop the characters really well in terms of where these three guys have been. Like there is a good like kind of flashback sequence at the start of the film from the 90s about these guys as young kids and how they became who they were, and then it fast forwards to like present day where they've got kids or they've got businesses or they've just washed out. So they have to find out who's hurt their sensei or who murdered the sensei, and they go through various people getting into fights. The fight scenes themselves are really, I just said that, really well choreographed. They're not too violent, and there is some really good comedy, especially between, there is a guy who they used to know as a kid. I think it's this guy here. Hang on. Matthew Page, is it him? Yes. I thought I'd seen this guy from a few other films, but he is not a main. He's one of the other sub characters that a lot of comedy comes out from him, and there is a really good fight scene between the three guys and him. So it's definitely worth watching, and I think it's like a hidden sleeper. I mean, I know people have watched it and it's got some really good reviews. Talking about the reviews, 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb, which I think is way low for 2.8 thousand rating, 2.000 people who have voted. Put it this way, people, if you're a fan of old martial arts films, Cobra Kai right at the moment, Karate Kid, Bloodsport, all those 90s films, Bruce Lee films, you have to watch this. Even Ninja Turtles, right? If you're into all that kind of stuff, 100% you have to be watching this, because it is something that I should have watched earlier and I didn't, and I'm spewing that I didn't watch earlier. My rating for it, the pros and cons of it, I'm really, really found difficulty finding anything to like moan about this, but like seriously, like it was entertaining, it was funny. Maybe there could have been I think maybe the ending, maybe we could have done something a bit more there to some extent, but really I'm going to put it down to a 9 out of 10 for that. You heard it from here, 9 out of 10 for the Paper Tigers. Now, they've given it a 6.4 out of 10, which is harsh. Let's look at Rotten Tomatoes, shall we? Rotten Tomatoes, the Paper Tigers. Wowee, look at that. Tomato meter, 98%. And the audience score, fewer than 50, 93%. 61 reviews, 98%, guys. That is something. That is like nearly a perfect score. IMDb, 6.4. That is pathetic. Sorry, there is no way this is a 6.5 out of 10 movie. This is definitely a 9 to 9.5 out of 10. 100%. You can go in here and read the reviews, but I'm not even going to bother. Yeah. Where can you watch it? It's on Netflix. There you go. Subscription. It is on Netflix. There you go. Where was Respect on, by the way? On Prime Video. That's right. That's where I watched it. So, well, that is it, guys. A 9 out of 10 for that, and a, what did I say, 7.5 for Respect. I think that's about it, guys. I know, look, we've been going for 19 minutes, but that is my review on these two films. Two great films. Obviously, you've got very different genres, but let me know what you think in the comments below, guys, because maybe these films aren't for you, but, let me know what you think in the comments. I just thought it'd be easy to just do bang, bang, do two reviews at once, and that's it. So, I think that's going to be it from me, guys, for now. So, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Daska Discusses. Don't forget, I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok now, out of all things. So I'll catch you guys then. 3, 2, 1, boom.